There comes a moment in your life when you realize something powerful. Most of the anger you carry was never about the other person. It was about the meaning you attached to their behavior. People don't make you angry. They reveal what still controls you. And once you understand this, once you learn this one shift, you will never be angry at anyone again. The truth is, you have been taught to tie your emotions to other people's actions. Someone disrespects you, you react. Someone lies to you, you react. Someone ignores you, you react. You've been conditioned to believe that your emotional state is a hostage held by the world, but it isn't. And today, you take it back. The key is simple, but it's not easy. Detachment from expectation. Not detachment from people, not detachment from love, not detachment from life, detachment from expecting someone to act the way you want. Because the moment you expect a certain behavior from someone, you hand them the remote control to your emotions. When someone disappoints you, hurt you, or fails you, you must learn to say just one thing. This is information. Not an insult, not an attack, information. The way someone treats you tells you everything about who they are, not who you are. And when you internalize this, anger dissolves. Because anger comes from taking things personally. And nothing is personal once you see behavior as data, not a verdict. You stop being angry at the liar because you understand lying is their weakness, not your wound. You stop being angry at the jealous person because you understand their insecurity has nothing to do with your worth. You stop being angry at the one who left because you realize they didn't abandon you, they revealed their capacity. This is how you break free. But here's the part most people don't want to hear. Your peace requires discipline. It means observing, not absorbing. It means choosing the higher response, not the emotional reaction. It means mastering your inner world so deeply that nobody walks in and rearranges the furniture. When someone throws you negativity, you don't catch it. When someone gives you attitude, you don't carry it. When someone tests your patience, you don't fail. You simply don't participate. And when you stop participating, anger loses its grip. Understand this. Emotional control is not about feeling nothing. It's about directing your energy toward what deserves your power. You don't get angry because someone acted poorly. You get focused. You get aware. You get smarter. You make decisions from clarity, not chaos. You begin to see people as they are, not as you wish them to be. And that is when you become untouchable. Not cold, not heartless, untouchable. Because no matter what they do, you remain in control of you. You will never be angry again when you stop expecting people to carry the weight of your standards. Your standard is for you. Your boundaries are for you. Your peace is for you. The world will test you every day. But when your internal world is stronger than the external noise, nothing can shake you. So here is the rule you live by from today onward. Interpret nothing as an attack. Interpret everything as information. And when you do that, people stop having power over your emotions. Only you do. Do this, and anger becomes a language you no longer speak. Do this, and you rise above every petty conflict, every insult, every disappointment. Do this, and you become someone nobody can trigger, manipulate, or break. This is how you reclaim yourself. This is how you protect your peace. This is how you become free. Here is asterisk keynote. No one expanded into a full 900-word powerful speech. Asterisk. No headings, no ending sentences, no conclusions, pure flowing content. Most of the anger you carry doesn't come from what people do to you, but from what you expected them to do for you. Expectation is the invisible contract you write in your mind. One the other person never signed, never saw, and never agreed to. And this unspoken contract becomes the foundation of frustration, disappointment, and emotional turbulence. You expect honesty, but they give you lies. You expect loyalty, but they give you excuses. You expect respect, but they respond with carelessness. And every time your expectation collides with reality, anger erupts, not because of what happened, but because it didn't match the version you built in your mind. The truth is simple. When you stop expecting people to behave a certain way, you stop giving them the power to influence your emotional state. You walk through life assuming people will operate with the same integrity, sincerity, and discipline that you do, but people act from their nature, not yours. A dishonest person doesn't suddenly become honest because you trust them. A selfish person doesn't become generous because you were kind. A careless person won't magically handle your heart with care because you handled theirs with respect. People act according to their patterns, not your preferences. And when you learn this, when you finally accept that people will be who they are, regardless of what you hope they would be, your anger begins to dissolve. Because anger lives in the gap between reality and expectation. And when that gap closes, anger has nowhere to grow. Expectation is like holding someone else's behavior as the key to your emotional peace. The moment you expect someone to act a certain way, you hand them your internal control panel. They ignore you, you get upset. They speak incorrectly, you get triggered. They fail you, you fall apart. Your emotional life becomes reactive instead of intentional. You become a puppet pulled by other people's actions, tones, moods, and mistakes. And as long as you allow that, anger will always find a way in. Freedom begins the moment you decide that nobody else holds the remote control of your inner world. You reclaim your peace by reclaiming your expectations. When you stop expecting others to share your values, everything becomes clear. You begin to see people not through the lens of desire, but through the lens of truth. You stop expecting maturity from someone who has never practiced self-awareness. You stop expecting emotional intelligence from someone who has never reflected on their own behavior. You stop expecting accountability from someone who has spent their entire life avoiding consequences. When you remove expectation, you stop being shocked, you stop being hurt, you stop being angry. You simply recognize people for who they are, and once you see clearly, your emotional reactions lose their intensity. One of the biggest sources of anger is believing that because you did good, you will receive good. But the world doesn't operate on fairness, it operates on reality. You can be kind and still be mistreated. You can be loyal and still be betrayed. You can be honest and still be lied to. If your peace is tied to the hope that people will reciprocate your energy, you will live in constant disappointment. Let people be who they are, and let your emotions be your responsibility. You are no longer angry when someone fails you, because you no longer expect them to carry a standard they never claimed to uphold. Your peace is not a reward they give you. It is a discipline you give yourself. Expectation also makes you personalize every action. Someone cancels on you, and instead of seeing their pattern, you make it about your worth. Someone snaps at you, and instead of recognizing their stress, you turn it into a wound. Someone lies, and instead of understanding their flaws, you question your value. Expectation creates illusions that make other people's behavior feel like a personal attack. When you remove expectation, you remove the illusion. You see behavior as information instead of insult. You observe instead of absorb. You respond instead of react. And anger loses its power because anger feeds on stories you create, not on the truth you see. Releasing expectation doesn't mean lowering your standards or allowing mistreatment. It means recognizing that your standards are for you, not for others. You don't expect people to treat you well. You choose times who is allowed near you based on how they behave. You don't expect people to respect you. You enforce boundaries with those who don't. You don't expect consistency. You simply distance yourself from those who show unreliability. You shift from expecting behavior to evaluating behavior. This shift removes anger and replaces it with clarity. You stop reacting emotionally and start responding intelligently. When you stop expecting people to be perfect, to be aware, to be thoughtful, to be like you create inner space to breathe, space to detach, space to choose your emotional response consciously. Anger thrives in the mind that constantly says, they should have done this, they shouldn't have said that, why didn't they behave better? But peace lives in the mind that says, this is who they are, and I choose how I respond. This mindset transforms you. You become steadier, you become calmer, you become untouchable. Because your emotions are rooted in your own discipline, not in someone else's unpredictability. And the beautiful part is this: the moment you release expectation, your relationships improve. You communicate more clearly, you judge less, you understand more. You stop fighting battles that were never yours. You stop trying to fix people who aren't interested in being fixed. You stop waiting for someone to become what you hoped for. You let people be exactly what they show you, and you build your peace from acceptance, not fantasy. And without the weight of unmet expectation dragging you down, anger slowly disappears. Here is ***, keynote, no, 2. Expand it into a full 900-word powerful speech, asterisk, asterisk. No headings, no ending lines, no conclusions, only clean, continuous content. Most people walk through life taking everything personally, as if every comment, expression, or action is aimed directly at them. This is why anger grows so easily in the mind, because you believe every move someone makes has something to do with you. But the day you learn to see every action as information instead of an attack, the world shifts in a way that frees you from unnecessary pain. Human behavior is communication. It is data. It is a reflection of someone's inner state, not a measurement of your worth. When you detach emotionally and begin to look at actions like signals rather than insults, you gain a level of control over your emotions that most people never experience. Imagine someone speaking to you with a harsh tone. Without emotional detachment, you immediately assume it's about you. You react, you defend, you mirror their negativity. But with detachment, you pause, you observe, you understand that their tone might come from stress, fear, insecurity, or their own unresolved issues. You don't absorb any of it. You see it as information. This person is not in a balanced state right now. That single shift in perspective keeps you calm, centered, and in full command of your inner world. Their behavior is their state of mind, not your responsibility to carry. When someone lies to you, instead of letting anger explode and turn into a storm inside your chest, you evaluate it. A lie reveals the person's integrity, not your value. Emotional detachment allows you to examine behavior with objectivity instead of reacting with pain. You stop saying, "How could they lie to me?" and start understanding, this is who they are, this is their pattern. That simple clarity removes the sting. It gives you the power to respond intelligently, not emotionally. Detachment isn't cold, it is clarity, and clarity protects your peace better than anger ever will. When someone criticizes you unfairly, emotional detachment gives you the ability to filter their words instead of swallowing them whole. You ask yourself, is this feedback real, or is it projection? Is it truth, or is it insecurity pretending to be authority? When you look at their criticism as data, you avoid unnecessary anger, because anger only thrives when you take someone's words as personal truth. Seeing criticism as information helps you maintain confidence while still allowing room for self-evaluation if needed. You stay in control of your self-worth and let their emotional baggage remain theirs. One of the most powerful aspects of emotional detachment is recognizing that not everything requires your reaction. Some people act out not because they have something against you, but because they don't know how to manage themselves. Their anger doesn't belong to you. Their jealousy doesn't belong to you. Their passive-aggressive comments don't belong to you. Their insecurity doesn't belong to you. Without detachment, you absorb all their chaos. With detachment, you simply witness it. You remain neutral, unbothered, and mentally steady. You become someone who cannot be easily provoked because you no longer see their behavior as a reflection of your identity. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop carrying. You stop holding other people's emotions as if they are your own. You stop basing your peace on someone else's balance. You stop tying your mood to their actions. You take a step back emotionally so you can interpret the situation with logic rather than impulsive reaction. You create space inside yourself, space where wisdom replaces anger and patience replaces frustration. And in that space, you become someone who does not crumble under pressure or lose control because of someone else's lack of control. Think about how many times you got angry because you misread the situation. Someone didn't text back, and you assumed they were ignoring you. Someone looked distant, and you assumed they were upset with you. Someone didn't acknowledge your effort, and you assumed they didn't care. Emotional entanglement creates false stories in your head, and those stories create anger. Detachment stops the storytelling. You stop imagining what isn't there and start seeing what actually is. You shift from reacting to reality instead of reacting to assumptions, and this alone saves you from countless moments of frustration. When you see behavior as information, you also identify who deserves access to your life. Someone's consistency shows their reliability. Someone's disrespect shows their level of maturity. Someone's avoidance shows their emotional instability. Someone's jealousy shows their insecurity. Someone's silence shows their limits. When you view these as data points instead of emotional wounds, you make better decisions. You know when to distance yourself, when to set boundaries, and when to walk away. Anger becomes unnecessary when behavior itself gives you all the information you need to act wisely. Detachment also enhances your communication. Instead of responding with anger, you respond with clarity. Instead of shouting, you explain. Instead of emotional explosions, you state facts. Instead of accusations, you ask questions. Detachment gives you the ability to stay grounded even in difficult conversations. It keeps your tone calm, your mind sharp, and your emotions steady. People listen differently when you speak from composure rather than chaos. Your presence becomes stronger because you are not reacting, you are leading the interaction. There is a profound freedom that comes with no longer taking things personally. You begin to understand that everyone is fighting a battle inside themselves. Some people project their pain, some project their fear, some project their insecurity. And if you attach yourself to their internal war, you lose your peace in the process. Emotional detachment allows you to step back and recognize that their emotional world is separate from yours. You don't let their storm become your storm. You don't let their mood dictate your state. You don't let their reaction pull you into unnecessary conflict. When you master this mindset, you become unshakable. Someone can be rude and you don't crumble. Someone can be dismissive and you don't break. Someone can be judgmental and you don't internalize it. You analyze behavior rather than absorbing behavior. You understand instead of reacting. You observe instead of taking offense. And in that understanding, your anger fades, because anger thrives only when you allow behavior to enter your emotional system unchecked. The more detached you become, the more powerful your decisions become. You stop reacting from impulse and start responding from intention. You stop letting emotions dictate your actions and start using information to guide your choices. You don't need anger to protect yourself because awareness does the job better. Emotional detachment turns you into someone who can face any situation with a steady mind, a calm heart, and a sharp eye for what is real and what is noise. Here is *** keynote no.3 expanded into a full 900-word powerful speech, ***, no headings, no ending lines, no conclusions, just pure flowing content. Protecting your peace begins with a decision most people never make. The decision to stop participating in negativity. Not fighting it, not fixing it, not reacting to it, simply refusing to take part in it. Negativity only grows when you feed it, respond to it, or give it a place inside your mind. When you choose to observe instead of absorb, when you choose to witness instead of engage, you become someone whose emotional strength cannot be shaken by anyone's behavior. The world stops having the ability to disturb your inner state because you no longer give your energy away so easily. You don't get angry because you don't step into the emotional trap that someone else has set for you. Every day, you are surrounded by people who are controlled by their impulses, insecurities, and unresolved issues. They express their chaos through criticism, drama, jealousy, gossip, or hostility. Most people get pulled into this energy automatically. They react without thinking. They mirror the negativity. They defend themselves, argue, shout, or try to prove a point. But reacting is participation. The moment you react, you have handed your peace over. The moment you engage, you have accepted an invitation to a battle that was never worth fighting. You protect your peace by not entering the arena in the first place. Observing instead of absorbing means you see what is happening without letting it penetrate your emotional system. Someone raises their voice, and instead of reacting, you remain steady. Someone throws a passive-aggressive comment, and instead of getting triggered, you let it pass, like wind through an open window. Someone tries to provoke you, and instead of taking the bait, you recognize their intent and stay in your power. This is not weakness. This is not avoidance. This is mastery. The person who can stay calm in the presence of chaos is not avoiding the storm. They have become the storm's equal. They have learned to remain centered while the world around them loses balance. Protecting your peace also means refusing to justify yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Some individuals don't want clarity. They want conflict. They don't want truth. They want drama. They don't want solutions. They want reactions. When you understand this, you stop explaining yourself endlessly. You stop trying to fix perceptions. You stop wasting emotional energy on people who feed off tension. Instead, you conserve your power for situations and individuals who deserve it. The more you practice this, the more you realize that silence is not weakness, silence is strategy. Silence is a decision to not allow negativity to dictate your behavior. When you refuse to participate in negativity, you begin to see how much emotional noise you used to carry. You recognize how many arguments were unnecessary, how many conflicts were avoidable, how many moments of anger came from reacting instead of observing. You learn that every reaction is a transaction. You spend emotional currency every time you get pulled into negativity. And the question becomes, is it worth it? Is their comment worth your peace? Is their attitude worth your energy? Is their disrespect worth your emotional stability? Most of the time, the answer is no. When you respond with calm neutrality instead of anger, you keep your power intact. Protecting your peace also requires discipline in your internal dialogue. Sometimes the negativity doesn't come from outside, it comes from your own thoughts. Your mind creates scenarios, assumptions, and fears that drain your energy before anything even happens. Observing instead of absorbing applies here too. When a negative thought appears, you don't engage with it. You don't feed it. You don't follow it down a spiral of worry. You simply observe it. You let it pass. You recognize it as a mental pattern, not a reality. Your inner world becomes quieter because you no longer amplify every negative idea that enters your mind. The more you choose not to participate in negativity, the more people start to treat you differently. They stop testing you because they realize you won't react. They stop bringing drama to you because they see you won't entertain it. They stop dumping their emotional chaos on you because your boundaries are clear without you ever needing to announce them. Your peace becomes your atmosphere, and people adjust to it. You become the calm one in the room, the grounded presence that everyone notices but few can imitate. This is the power of emotional discipline. Others feel it even when you don't speak a word. Refusing to participate in negativity does not mean letting people walk over you. It means picking your battles wisely. It means responding from power instead of reacting from impulse. It means enforcing boundaries without raising your voice. It means holding your standard without losing your self-control. You don't need anger to assert yourself. You don't need aggression to show strength. You don't need emotional explosions to prove a point. Your calmness does the work. Your silence speaks louder than arguments. Your refusal to engage sends a clearer message than any confrontation could. You teach people how to treat you by the energy you accept and the energy you ignore. Protecting your peace also means choosing environments that support your emotional well-being. You distance yourself from people who drain your energy. You create space from those who thrive on chaos. You limit your exposure to individuals who turn every conversation into conflict. And when you cannot remove yourself from these environments, you shift your internal environment instead. You move into observation mode. You detach emotionally. You stay neutral. You become untouchable. Your peace becomes a shield that negativity cannot penetrate because you don't allow it access. When you learn to observe rather than absorb, your perception of the world changes. You no longer see every challenge as a threat. You no longer take every comment personally. You no longer internalize every moment of tension. You understand that people act from their wounds, their fears, their insecurities, and their stress, not from a place of conscious intention to harm you. This understanding removes the emotional weight from their behavior. You hold your ground, you keep your peace, and you respond only when necessary, not when triggered. In this state, anger becomes unnecessary because nothing hooks into your emotions deeply enough to generate it. You begin to live with a sense of calm confidence, a confidence that comes not from controlling others, but from controlling your reactions. A confidence that comes from knowing your peace is not fragile. A confidence that comes from the ability to walk away from negativity instead of wrestling with it. You rise above the petty behaviors that once consumed your mind. You conserve your energy for what builds you instead of what drains you. And you become someone who is not just calm, but unshakably calm. Not just peaceful, but powerfully peaceful. Because your strength no longer comes from force, it comes from your discipline to protect your inner world at all costs.